You know, right. The podcast that covers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and so much more. A lot of champions on our show usually, and this episode is no exception. Joe, we have a special guest on with us today, one half of the most decorated women's tag team of all time, joining us on the show right now.
That is right. She is a member of the Judgment Day. We welcome Raquel Rodriguez to the show. Raquel, once this comes out, there's going to be an interesting backstory about this happened, but that belt looks great. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. And thank you for the all time in the introduction. I think it's something very important that a lot of people miss. So I appreciate that. You guys are doing great so far.
It's nothing but facts, Raquel.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I am the most decorated women's tag team. So I had to bring this on just to show a little bit of shiny and, we can get on with business.
Yeah, well, looks great on you and it suits you well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Golden, of course. So you have a crazy schedule. You got a lot going on. So I'm curious, when you wake up in the morning or the afternoon, what's that first app you check on your phone?
Yeah, so actually, first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, I don't touch my phone at all. I don't check my phone from the past year of being sick and really just starting to meditate and get into a routine that's more healthy for my nervous system because I do have a sensitive nervous system. I found that not checking my phone first thing in the morning, and I don't sleep with my phone by my bed either. So my phone stays in my kitchen. I can hear my alarm from there. I'll turn the alarm off. I'll go do my morning routine. And then maybe like an hour later, I'll check and see if I have any messages. So maybe iMessenger is the first app I check.
Yeah, that's great. I think anybody who sleeps with the phone on is crazy. I turn the phone off, too much radiation stuff gets interrupted.
Yeah, people really do not know how important sleep is for recovery, for mental recovery, physical recovery, emotional recovery. Sleep is so important. And I think as a society, we've kind of been like, no, you don't need sleep. You can sleep when you're dead. I remember my basketball coaches used to tell me that. And I'm like, wow, that really became my mindset for a while. But now I have a completely different mindset, and this is a way better one. It's more healthier. It's better for me as a human being, and it's better for me when I'm trying to grow just as a person as well.
Yeah, I take example from my son. He's almost 2, but the more he sleeps, the better of mood he's in. So I gotta follow suit with him. If I put him to sleep at 8 p.m., he'll sleep till 7 a.m. and he'll be okay. But if I put him to sleep at 10 p.m., then he's up at 6 a.m. So the less sleep, it doesn't work out. So I like to sleep too, and I think anybody who fights the sleep, those schedules get interrupted. But sleep is very important for the body's
Yeah,
recovery.
agreed.
Yeah, your soon-to-be 2-year-old son is also happy when the Mets win. So, but Raquel, so you mentioned it. There was this period of time relatively recently that you lost. Talk about having mast cell activation syndrome, and just discuss for people who don't know it or want information about it or want to know, how you had an inkling that you may have it and how you had it checked out. What are the signs and kind of like the symptoms to look for?
Yeah, so I was never fully diagnosed for a specific illness, but mast cell activation syndrome is something that doctors looked at me and they were like, this might be something you have, which I do have a lot of similarities if you are to look it up. So in short, for the definition of mast cell, basically it's your body going through histamine or allergy attacks consistently. And I was going through them every day, all day, to the point where I was swelling, my face was swollen, my arms were swollen, my legs were swollen at a point, my ankles too, because my body just wasn't detoxing like it was. And so everything I was eating, everything I was doing, just being outside was giving me an allergic reaction. And so the way that I kind of came down from that, obviously it took a long, long time. It took a lot of trial and error. But the way I've kind of managed it has really been through diet. It's been through getting sleep. I've noticed that when I don't sleep a lot because of my crazy schedule, that's when I do see more rashes pop up. And it's also been through meditation and focusing on not stressing and not having those stressors in my life. So I've cut a lot of things out. I've cut a lot of people out. I've just kind of made my circle to what makes me feel good and what makes me feel comfortable. And so that past year really, it just was an eye opener for me that I was really not living a healthy lifestyle for myself. And if I had continued to live that lifestyle of being stressed and not sleeping and trying to people please for others, then I probably would have gotten a lot sicker than I was.
Yeah, you've done a great job to battle through it. So awesome stuff there.
Thank you.
The stress of traveling has to be the biggest grind with your profession. So, do you have a preferred airline, and how many frequent flyer miles do you have?
Well, because I fly out of Houston, I usually fly out United because it's at the international hub. And so I have a lot of miles with, honestly, I haven't really checked, but I do have points I need to use, and that
Love
has
the
been on my
I love the United Club.
Absolutely. We love the United Club. We're flies out of Newark Airport over here in New York, even though
um,
I'm not here right now, but Nick still is over there.
yeah,
Yeah.
United is the way to go. I just flew American recently and I was like, what is this nonsense? No,
Mm.
no, no. Put me back on United, please, or Delta.
Yeah, use those
Um,
free points and get out to Hawaii like me and my wife did.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna do. Yeah. Taking everyone to Hawaii. Let's go.
Good suggestion, Nick. Now let's talk about your collegiate career. You played college basketball, Texas A&M, Kingsville Javelinas, and then Sam Houston State University. You continued your career there, and then you earned your bachelor degree in mass communication. So talk about your experience, growing up, playing the sport, loving the sport, and ultimately, what did you want to pursue, at that stage of your life?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I talk about my childhood life a lot. My dad was a wrestler, and I wanted to be a wrestler from a very young age. But he was like, "No, you need to go to college. You need to graduate and get a degree," which I fully respect because coming from South Texas, one, we're pushed to learn English more than any other language because that's what's going to get you a job. And we're pushed to get some kind of degree and to get out of the valley and go to school. And so I understand, the standard that we were going through that then. As much as I wished I could have started wrestling earlier, I really truly loved basketball. I have a special place in my heart for basketball. I used to play year round. It really boosted my confidence for being a tall, powerful girl because it gave me a sense of power. And so getting to play in college was a great experience. I honestly, I was away from home for the first time and I'm not just down the road. You have to drive a couple hours to get back home. And I'm living in a dorm room with some of my friends and we're traveling and we're on the buses and we're going to these games and we get to work out every day and lift weights and do all these things. I really had a tremendous time in college. Even coming up to Sam Houston when my sister finally joined me, we got to live together. So I was living in an apartment with my sister, playing the sport that I love, getting to travel and see some of the 50 states. It was a really, really amazing experience, something I wouldn't trade. And I tell people this all the time, like, if you have an opportunity to play collegiate sports,
Mhm.
do it. There's nothing like it in the world. There's no way you're going to get experience with a team. You're going to get experience with discipline, commitment, all these things that really just shape you to be a human being that can, participate with other human beings when it comes to business or whatever your next pursuit is. And so when it did come down time to deciding, okay, what do I want to study? I knew I wanted to stay in sports. For me, I love sports. I love football, Texas girl. I love playing basketball. And so I was like, I could do broadcast journalism because then, I can go work for ESPN or I could work for like the local news and go to all the sporting games and that would be fun. And I won't be sad about, having to report the morning news of whatever's going on in the world. And so that was my decision. That was my deciding factor of what I wanted to study. Little did I know at the time that was going to be so helpful for me in wrestling because of promos and TV work. And I was already doing this stuff in college. I was on a debate team. I was on a team that did an advertising competition where you had to speak in front of big crowds. So it was really kind of an easy decision for me to go the mass comm direction. I just felt drawn to it.
3 mass comm majors right now on the podcast.
Hey.
I broadcast a lot of women's and men's college basketball games. There's really nothing. The camaraderie between the college basketball team is unrivaled between anything else you could experience. So definitely, I've seen your experience firsthand with the student athletes I deal with today. I'm assuming you're a pretty dominant paint player. You getting the rebounds and stuff, correct?
Coming from the valley and being the tallest girl, I was a center. And then I went up to Kingsville, still the tallest girl, kind of. There was another girl my height. So center, a little bit, power forward. And then I came to Sam Houston. And the girls are 6'3", 6'4". And I'm like, all right. So I had to move out to be a power forward, which it was still good. It was still good. But yes, rebounding was my game. It still is my game. I will fight for that ball.
How's that jump shot?
Jump shot's pretty good. You know what I mean? I still have a memory of being in the playoffs my senior year before we went to before we made it to state in the final four. And I remember being in the playoffs and I hit a jump shot from the top of the free throw line. And it was so beautiful. That memory sticks in my head for like it's gonna be there forever because anytime anyone asks me about my jump shot, I just pull that memory up and I'm like, it's pretty good.
Give me your starting five with you, of course, and four other wrestlers if you're gonna go up and down the basketball court. You could do men and
Ooh.
now, up to you.
Okay, okay. I'm definitely gonna pick Nia Jax. Definitely putting Nia on my
Oh
team.
yeah.
I'm also gonna pick Bailey because she was just recently in the NBA All-Star game, so I know she's been working on her footwork and her dribbling skills. So I'm gonna put her on my team. Give me my tag team partner Liv Morgan because she's aggressive and feisty, and I know
Hmm.
putting her on anyone like that girl will be defensive player of the night. Okay, hands down. I know it. Everybody else knows it. Liv Morgan, defensive player of the night. That's three plus me is four, so one more. I think I want to pick CM Punk for my fifth player. I
Okay.
just feel like he has a really good sense of his teammates once he knows who they are. And he would be a very good, like power, maybe like a outside shooter, point guard, but kind of like telling us where to go and what to do. And I just feel like he'd be a good mix into the
Yeah,
group.
the veteran leader there.
Yeah, yeah.
Solid squad, rivaling at the Liberty. So we'll see if you guys ever take the court. But you
That would
mentioned
be great.
before, growing up in Texas, your father, Rick, professional wrestler, so you were kind of born into wrestling. So beyond him, were there any other wrestlers that really inspired you to pursue a career in wrestling?
Yeah, yeah. Watching him and of course everyone that he works with. So the Galvanes of Corpus Christi, Richard out in San Antonio, his old tag team partner Dan from Louisiana. They all really inspired me and they kind of fed the fire that was already burning every time I went to my dad's shows. But on TV, of course, I loved watching the Rattlesnake Stone Cold. China was a big influence for me as a bigger girl.
Hmm.
Beth Phoenix also was a big influence for me. The matches and the rivalry between Mickey James and Trish and Lita and Trish, those stories always caught my attention because they were highlighting more of the athleticism and the physicality of the women. And so it was a really beautiful time for me to grow up watching wrestling because I wasn't seeing what my dad was seeing and what he was so scared of. I was seeing what the future was going to be. And so, yeah, those are the people I would pick.
We'll never forget when Trish and Lita main evented Raw. Really, really spectacular.
Yes.
Also, wish kind of Beth Phoenix had a little more run with some of the women who have been around for the last 10 years. I mean, she was really great for her time, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. Beth Phoenix was ahead of her time. And even coming back and doing, what she did with Rhea and with Edge when they had their little storyline on Raw. And, I follow Beth Phoenix on social media and I love what she's doing now. She's taking care of herself. She's taking care of her family. She's really honing into her feminine side and becoming a yoga instructor. She's working on her album, constantly singing and music. And so I still look at her as an inspiration because she's found other outlets aside from wrestling to express herself. And I think that's so beautiful. And I think that's so inspiring as a woman of her age to teach to me and to everyone else younger than me.
Big mommy cool, don't you think?
Yeah, big mommy cool for sure.
Love that. So let's talk about the exact moment that you said, okay, we're going to do this. Started wrestling school and then briefly working on the independent circuit. Talk about what that transition and experience was like, getting that
Yeah,
career
so that
started.
was actually a deal I had with my dad. So he was like, once you graduate college, he told me this when I was a little girl, obviously, when I was like, I want to wrestle. And he's like, no. He's like, when you graduate college, you can try out wrestling. And so the day I graduated, I went up to my dad and my Uncle Hector, and I was like, my Uncle Hector was laughing because he already knew. He used to be on the road with my dad. He used to go to the Mexico shows with my dad. Like he knew from the beginning. And he just starts laughing, and I look at my dad, and I'm like, I graduated. Does that mean I get to try wrestling now? And so my dad kind of told me, he's like, yes, but you're gonna go where I take you. You're gonna train with people I know, and you're gonna have 2 years to make it into WWE. If you don't make it into WWE in 2 years, then you're gonna give it up and you're gonna focus on something else. So again, another deal, fine. And so that's what I did. I was still living in Sam Houston in Huntsville, Texas, and I was driving to San Antonio. I was driving to Austin. I was driving to Corpus Christi every other weekend, sometimes once a month, depending when I could get off of work, to train with my dad and to train with people that he knew. And so I did have a few independent shows where I was very grateful to work with people that guided me and they were veterans and they gave me a little taste of what it's like to be in the ring. And then, I was like, okay, if I want to make it and I have this 2-year mark that I have to meet, I have to like go above and beyond and push myself. So I did a video for Tough Enough. I didn't make it for that, but then I was like, well, okay, what's next? Oh, they're going to be at the Arnold Classic in Chicago. I'm going to go there because it says they're having an open tryout. It says there's going to be a recruiter, blah, blah, blah. Bought a plane ticket, flew for the night, went up straight to the recruiting table of WWE. And I was like, I'm ready to go. I got my shoes on. I got my leggings on. I know moves. Put me in the ring. I'm ready to be in this open tryout. And he's like, well, actually, it's not really open. We've already picked our athletes. And he like stood up from the table and like eyed me down enough to see if I guess I was wearing high heels. And he's like, yeah, send me your info. You can email me your stats, your little resume, and we'll see where it goes. And so did that night. Next week, following week, I get a reply back that they want me out for a tryout in like a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. And so I just started working really, really hard in the gym, in the ring to get my cardio up. I had an idea that it was going to be very cardio intensive. I was like, they're going to push us to our absolute limits. And so I wanted to come in with the best positive attitude, with the best possibility physically to show them what I got and to show them that I'm worthy. And that's exactly what I did. I went in there. I spoke Spanish. I spoke English. I was the loudest of the group. I was the most hype of the group. There was no denying me that day. So the rest is history. They signed me. And they brought me down to Orlando to start in NXT, where I trained and picked up, everything that I could learn from those amazing coaches that we have down at the Performance Center.
So you get signed to the Performance Center, you go to NXT. What was it like leaving Texas for the first time and moving to Orlando?
For me, I was very excited. I've always been very excited just for new adventures. I love traveling. We've moved so much, even as a young girl, we used to move around a lot. And so I think it was harder for my family for sure. It was definitely hard for my dad because I am a daddy's girl and I'm the baby of the family. It was hard for my mom too, but she's pretty good at staying busy. And it was my sister. Thankfully, she was already married at the time. She was starting her family, so she had her own distractions. But I know it was hard for us to be a little bit farther away than just driving distance. But they came and they drove me to Orlando. They moved me into my apartment. We had a good little weekend together, and then I flew home as much as I could from Orlando whenever I could to visit them. And same thing, I would have my sister come visit me or my mom or my dad just to keep up with them and make sure everything was good. But it was a good experience for me to get away because it taught me also how to be a little bit more independent.
Now, I have a best friend who lives about 10 to 15 minutes from the Performance Center. Were you surprised that it was in the middle of nowhere at first?
No, honestly, I actually expected it to be even more in the middle of nowhere. Because Winter Park is maybe like 10 minutes from the Performance Center. And so like a lot of us, when we first start out, we'll move into their Winter Park area, just because it's so quick to get to the Performance Center. And so for me, it was all kind of close in a sense. But it's hidden. It's like hidden away. And so I was like expecting it to be even more isolated than when it was, but I was like, oh no, this is cool. And now it's even bigger than what it was when I first started. So, I mean, that place is just growing.
Yes, it is. So let's talk about your growing career down in NXT. It seems like any wrestler who wins the NXT Women's Championship immediately goes on to bigger and better things. I think it's become one of the most prestigious championships in WWE. You won it at a very particular time. Not only like in the history of the company, but at the history of the world, as everything was still coming out of COVID. And talk about the experience of being down there, growing your character, and eventually working your tail off and winning the NXT Women's Championship.
Yeah, it was a long road for me at NXT because, excuse me, one of the things that I constantly got critiqued on when I first started was, you're not mean enough. You smile too much. You're too nice. You're too this. You're too that. No one's ever going to believe that you're a good guy because you're way bigger than the other girls. You have to be a heel. You have to be this. You have to stop smiling. And so it was difficult for me at first, for those first couple of years. I had amazing coaches like Scotty 2 Hotty who saw something in me, and Ria's talked about it too, because he saw something in her at the same time. And both her and I were struggling confidence wise with our characters at the same time. And he pulled us aside and he's like, I want you guys to join my class. I feel like, the moves and everything like that is something you guys have down, but I want to work on character stuff with you. I want to work on making you guys the biggest stars that you can possibly be. And so I'm so grateful to Scotty 2 Hotty for doing that and pulling us into his class and teaching us a different way of wrestling and a different way of seeing the product and seeing ourselves, because it really pulled both of us out of our shells, especially me. And it gave me an opportunity to show them like, no, I could be mean. If you want me to be mean and you don't want me to smile, then yeah, that's fine. It might have taken me a while because I was just so happy and so gun-ho about being signed to WWE, which was my lifelong dream as a child. But if that's what they really wanted, I was going to give it to them. So it was a long run for me getting into TV and working with Dakota. And then finally getting the opportunity, being told like, hey, Io Shirai, who is the biggest female superstar in the entire world, is going to have a match with you. And it's going to be at our first ever WrestleMania night one of the weekends, when it started becoming a multi-day thing. And you guys are going to be main eventing it. And you're going to win it. And I was like, I don't like to hear anything and believe it right away. I like to just take it for what it is, show up that day, give it all my best, and we'll see how the outcome comes, because things change last minute all the time. And so for me, I was just very, very grateful to be put in that position and in that situation. But I know that I deserved it because I worked so hard to prove everybody wrong. And even to this day, I know I'm still working hard to prove everybody wrong, because I can't help smiling. I can't help being this big jolly green giant when I'm happy. That's just me. And if I'm going to exude that energy, I hope it hits people in the right way. But I am a performer too, and I'm professional. And so if I know that it's time to get down to business, I will get down to business as well.
And it's very evident, comes right off the page. I think getting you and Rhea out of your shells is certainly an understatement, considering where the both of you are in your careers right now.
And Raquel wants to prove people wrong, so she came to the right podcast, the right podcast.
I'm right.
Well, she was directed to the podcast again. Great story about that. But let's talk about getting the call up to the main roster. Where were you? Who called you? How happy were you?
Yeah, so actually I had just gotten back into Orlando, Florida from NXT TakeOver, which was WrestleMania that weekend in Dallas. And me and Dakota had just won the tag team titles, the NXT women's tag team titles, for the second time. And so I just landed. I was literally just driving into my driveway, parking, getting my stuff out. And I get the call and they're like, hey, and at this point, people have been on the main roster multiple times while still being in NXT. Like I know Rhea, Bianca, they all had opportunities to be in the Royal Rumble. They had opportunities to be a part of Evolution, to be a part of Raws and SmackDowns while still being a part of the NXT roster. I had not. I hadn't even had a dark match at this point. I had not been called to SmackDown. I've not been called to Raw at all. My sole location was NXT. And so to get this call that like, hey, you're going to be needed at SmackDown this Friday. I was shocked. I was shocked. I was excited. I had like a slight inkling that it might be coming soon. I just didn't know it would be coming that soon because Dakota and I had just gotten the tag titles again. And I immediately started crying and I was just like, oh my God, thank you. And again, I didn't know like, oh, is it my debut or am I just going to have a dark match? What's going to happen? But I was like, okay, it's game time, So like immediately called my dad, gave him the good news, had a little good cry with him and then hung up. And I was like, what am I packing? What do I need to wear? What exactly am I trying to portray to them when I show up? How do I want to look? How do I want to be presented? All of those things start running through your mind. And so, yeah, it was a crazy weekend into a day for me and into that following Friday. But I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of SmackDown as my first main roster event because what a great show.
And pretty quickly, you're stepping in there with the champ, Ronda Rousey. So that was pretty early on. That must have been wild.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me because I was working both Ronda Rousey and Trish Stratus. And so I know that they were looking at me to kind of take control just as like the veteran of the wrestling atmosphere. Yeah. Ronda Rousey is an amazing athlete. I have never worked with someone like her still to this day in the ring. The way that she moves, the way that she just exudes this confidence, like there's just something about her, obviously, that makes her Ronda Rousey. And so I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity of having 2 really cool matches with her and getting to work with her because I learned so much just from being around her. And so that was a great opportunity for me too. And even with Trish Stratus, like who, as a little girl, me watching Trish, I'm like, I'm going to wrestle Trish today.
She's timeless. Timeless Trish.
Timeless. I was so excited. And then to get to, reenact that shake where I shook her and she just kind of like ragdolled moment that she had back in the day too. I was just like, oh my God, This is amazing. I felt the same way when Lillian Garcia announced me for the first time too. Like she was announcing me, I almost forgot to walk out because I was like, "Oh my God, Lillian Garcia just announced me on WWE." That's just me fangirling, obviously.
Of course, and her being a part of the culture. But how long did it really? So it sounds like you didn't really have any nerves at all, right? Like, how long did it take at the very beginning just to kind of shake the initial shock of it off?
Oh, there's always nerves. I still don't go a day of wrestling or being out on TV that I'm not nervous. Even for this last event that we had with Netflix, the To Doom event, I was up there, and because I was up there doing something completely different and not wrestling, I was shaking a little bit, and I noticed I was shaking, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay." So, yeah, I still feel nerves even before walking out of that curtain before a match. And so, especially working with Trish and Ronda, the nerves were really, really, really high. But I think when the nerves are that high and you perform and you get through it and you come out successful in whatever it is that you're doing, that come down just feels like an absolute cloud nine feeling. Like I was in heaven for the next following days. There's nothing more better than that high.
So let's talk about the relationship that you have with Liv Morgan now the last couple of years, because you've had a couple of runs together, currently the women's tag team champions, uh, and especially getting to know her better. Do you travel with her together? And let's talk about how awesome you two were color coordinating back at WrestleMania a couple months ago in
Oh
Vegas.
yeah, the red.
Thank you. Thank you. No, what's funny is we travel a lot together. We're constantly in contact, even when I'm in Texas and she's in Florida. And so I feel like we almost have this sister telepathy. That's the word. Yeah. Yeah.
Telepathy. That's
Yeah.
like Nick and I have that. Nick and
Yes.
we're always 5 steps ahead of each other. Like he'll text me something, I'll be like, yeah, I did that like 2 days ago.
Yeah. See, so you guys get it. And like, I just, we weren't exactly friends before we were put together into a storyline to tag together. And I know we've both spoken about that before. We just worked together. So we knew each other and we worked against each other a few times. But the second that we started tagging and the more that we started to get to know each other and spend this time with each other, we started to get really close and build this really amazing friendship. Liv is such a special person when it comes to making people feel included and invited and confident. And she has this amazing confidence about herself too, that just exudes into everyone else. And she's so uniquely her that you just love being around her and you love getting to do all these things with her. And so we travel together a lot. Every time that we can, we're always on the road together. And we've just really built this sisterhood of a bond. And so I'm so grateful that we can do things like color coordinate with each other on accident or on purpose sometimes. And I love this relationship that we have. I really hope that, we had this little argument 2 weeks ago on Raw, and I was like, that's the first time we've ever really been mad at each other. Like not even in a match have we ever had an argument or like a stumble or nothing. Like we've been on cue together. So I don't want to think too far into the future of what's going to happen with her and I, but I love what we're doing right now.
Well, you're the champs, so you're on top right now. So we'll keep that going. Talk to us about traveling with the title. How does that work in the airport with the metal detector?
Yes, this thing gets pulled pretty much every time. TSA either knows what it is and they want to see it, or sometimes they're just like, what's all this metal in your bag? And then they open it and they're like, oh, wow, is this yours? I'm like, well, who else is it? That's my bag.
Your name's on the belt. The name's on the belt.
Yeah. So, I make a little extra time for that because I already know that going through TSA is going to be something with the title for sure. One guy recently, he was like, what do you got? Car parts in there? And I was like, car parts? Sure. Yeah, we'll say that. And he just let me go. He didn't even open my bag, but he's like, all right, whatever.
Awesome. So you're traveling all over the world, but what are some of your favorite cities to go to perform, whether it's because of the city itself or that particular arena?
Ooh, okay, this one's tough. I'd have to say I really enjoy going to Arizona a lot. Like we'll be in Phoenix this coming week just because I like hiking Camelback Mountain. And I like going out there and walking around. I think Phoenix and Tempe, they just have a fun vibe. The food is always good there. It's a little bit different of an atmosphere from Texas and from Florida. You're getting the dry desert, so that's always fun to see. I love traveling to Florida too because I love the beach. I miss the beach so much now that I'm back in Texas. Yeah, those two probably have to be my favorite.
Awesome. So walk us through here your show day routine. What time you get into the arena? Are you someone who is going to eat and hydrate beforehand, and then post
Yeah.
match, post show, what's going down
Yeah.
to cool down? Because I'm sure you can't just like get out of there and be like, all right, I'm going to sleep. You probably take some time to unwind.
Yeah, sometimes there's no sleep because depending how early your flight is the next day, you could be so high on your adrenaline rush that you're like, oh my God, it's 2 in the morning. Should I take a 2 hour nap or should I just fight through it and get to the airport? But for most of the time, I like to wake up early, get a little workout in, get some food, drink a lot of water. I try to get all my hydration in the morning because I just know once we get to the arena around noon, 1 o'clock, there will be less time for making sure I'm drinking all my required water. But yeah, once I show up to the arena, I like to say hi to everyone. I like to settle into the locker room, put my stuff down. If we have enough time, I like to run to catering real quick just to get a little snack if I'm starving. If not, it's change and it's go time. Like we either get right into hair and makeup or we get into the ring, or we just start talking about backstages, what we're going to wear, what exactly is happening. It's just go time from the very minute that you're there. So there's really not too much downtime. But yeah, it's just a crazy day. If you have a match, the adrenaline, just expect it to be all the way up. The ways that I like to come down is obviously we get back to the hotel, shower, eat, just chill for a second, think about the night, maybe rewatch the show. Now that it's on Netflix, it's so
Mhm.
much easier. And then just kind of like, try and like turn my mind off as best as I can, which it does take a long time, but most of the time, that's how it goes.
Awesome. Great insight there. Appreciate you sharing that. So talk to us about the excitement level you had the first time you saw your WWE shop page, your action figure, and yourself in a video game.
Yeah, I think the video game came first, and I was like, "Whoa, dude!" I used to play WWF on Nintendo 64
Mhm.
when I was younger, and my favorite was creating your own wrestler and
That's the
being
best.
being able to. Yeah, I would make one look like my dad. I'm like, yeah, give him some black pants, some long hair. I'm gonna be Desperado today. And so, getting to see myself in a video game, it was just nostalgic for me because I'm like, wow, like to me, being in a video game, I was like, I think you've made it. And then my action figure came out, and it was the action figure that I won the NXT Women's title with. And I was like, okay, you made it. You made it. You have a doll after yourself. And my niece was just starting to be, I think she was like 3 at the time. And so to being able to give her something that she could look at and be like, Auntie, that was really special for me too, because I just know that that's like a once in a lifetime feeling that not everybody gets to feel. And so having that moment with her was just perfect. And then the t-shirts too. Yeah, like I just recently got 2 new t-shirts that I had the opportunity of collabing on and getting to design with. And so these felt a little closer to home for me. And I absolutely love them, and getting to see them on WWE Shop. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But what blows my mind the most is when I see people either online or that come to meet and greets dressed up as me. I'm just like in utter shock of these beautiful women that have bandanas on and they come with their hair curly and crazy, and they just look so cool, and they're like, we're like you chingona, and I'm like, wow, like that to me is the ultimate moment of being a WWE superstar, is getting to have people that really can relate to you and can invest into your character and what you're putting out there.
Yeah, and I think that it's probably awesome when you see people with your shirts on, which is great, but I think everyone loves the sunglasses. And I think you need to get a sunglasses deal. Ray-Bans, whoever, somewhere out there, and get in contact with Raquel.
Yeah, we're
Wear
working on
those
the Ray-Ban one.
sunglasses.
Yeah, because
Ooh,
my Ray-Bans, I've been using the Meta AIs, and so I'm recording, a whole bunch of stuff in the ring, which I haven't done too recently, but I do have, of course, like a promo video of me, Dominic, and Liv in the ring,
Yeah,
and you're just getting a 360 view of the entire audience
pretty
booing
awesome.
Dom because they don't want him to speak. And I'm like, dang, these glasses are cool. Where's my deal? Because like, this is getting good. This is some good
Yeah,
content.
absolutely.
Let them know.
Yeah,
Ray-Ban,
I would
listen
think
up.
I think it would be hard to do it, but I mean, we have the referee's ear cam. I mean, if you had the glasses, first person point of view wrestling, wouldn't
That
that
would be
be
kind of cool
something?
too. I did try and figure out how I could wrestle with them, but I need like a strap, maybe like some goggle
Right, the
protection.
sports
yeah,
goggles,
yeah.
Yeah, like the
back to the
sports goggles.
basketball
Yeah,
days. That'd be pretty
I'd
awesome.
wear those. I could do that. I could wrestle in those for sure.
I don't know, make it happen. So obviously you big basketball fan, big football fan. You're going to this big Netflix event with a lot of entertainers and stuff. If you had the opportunity to either tag up with or wrestle a celebrity, who are you looking to bring into the world WWE to step
Oh,
squared circle with?
I would love to tag team with Michelle Rodriguez from Fast and the Furious. I
Oh
think she's
wow.
Yeah.
so cool.
You could
I'm
you
like,
could you
dang,
could say you're related. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Long lost
you get
sisters.
it. You're gonna like we could be like primas, like cousins, and like that would be really, really cool. So I would love to
And
tag with
come to
Michelle
the ring
Rodriguez.
in a car. Oh,
Let's add Vin Diesel in there just for fun. He's the manager, right?
Vin
The only
drives
que-
you guys to the ring.
Why not? Why not? I love that. That would be really, really cool. So I definitely say her. Um, and just from recently, from being at like To Doom and meeting all these people, I think it would really be really cool to work with anyone from Love on the Spectrum in the ring, like any one of those
Oh yeah.
they weren't characters, they're themselves, obviously.
James, Connor, I mean, these guys are awesome.
Connor, I feel like would be a great wrestler. That man could really have some good mic skills. Like, did you hear his recent TikTok where he's like the National Geographic and he's voicing over for his dogs?
He's
I
got
was speechless.
eternal optimism. We need more people in life like him.
Yes, yes. So I think he would be really, actually, I would love him to be my manager. That would be really cool.
Yeah, he'd be like, listen, you do cutting the promos. These are five things Raquel likes about you and five things she hates about you. And he
Yeah,
goes this, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah. Even Tanner too. I would love for him to be my manager. He could be my mouthpiece.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Tanner. Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm
So any one
thinking
of them.
I'm thinking maybe for next year or the year after for WrestleMania because I don't know. The aisleways with the new stage set up, it's a little bit smaller. The aisleways are getting a little more narrow. I think it's going to be hard to fit a car. I think if we're going to have Vin Diesel drive you to the ring at WrestleMania, we need some space for you, don't you think?
Yeah, especially if he's gonna drive us in that beautiful. What was the car that his car in the movie? It's just, the name is escaping me. The model of the car. It was a
Don't remember
Come
myself.
on,
oh
Joe, step in. I haven't seen it. I haven't
I
seen
haven't seen
nine
the original
movies.
Fast and the Furious movies in a long time, and now I have to do this.
yeah. Now I'm like, it's escaping me because I'm thinking of something else. But okay, well we'll move past that. But yes, I
We'll move
agree.
past that. I'm going to look into that as I
I mean,
wear
this
my
could
my
be
rock
this
shirt.
could be this could be a crazy feud with the final boss and his crew versus Vin Diesel, Raquel, and Michelle.
Repping
Yeah,
my
think
guy, The
about that.
Rock.
That sounds cool.
All right, Raquel, I have a scenario for you. You ready?
Okay, I'm
Okay.
ready.
You declare and you enter the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble. You win. Let's say heading into next year, as of right now, for argument's sake, both champions are the same. Io is the women's world champion. Tiffany Stratton is the WWE Women's Champion. You win the Royal Rumble. Who would you choose to face at WrestleMania?
I haven't worked Tiffany Stratton, but for just old time story sakes of NXT, I'd pick Io Shirai. I'd pick Io because it just feels like it would be another version of our NXT story, but better. We're both different now. We're both grown a little bit more. We're both obviously experienced differently. So if we could do that in NXT, I feel like we could put on an amazing show at WrestleMania one on one. So I'd pick Io Shirai.
All
You
right,
heard it here
let's
first.
see what happens when
We're going to
Raquel's over
manifest
in
it.
Jeddah in January, and we'll see
Yeah.
if able to win. Raquel, we talked about it before. This is the perfect podcast for you, but I'll ask you this, our signature question here. In your life or your career, what has been your you know I'm right moment? What I mean by that, it's a time or place where you want to pursue something, you ask somebody for advice. They said, Raquel, that's not going to work out. Like, don't even try to do that. What are you, crazy? And you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And in the end, you will see why it is that I'm right about this. And I can tell you, I told you so.
Wow. So a moment where someone told me not to do so. Honestly, the biggest moment I could think about is going and pursuing my WWE career with my dad because he was the one who said, I don't want you to do it. More so not because he didn't think I could do it, but just because he knows the business and knows how difficult it can be. And it would probably be it'd probably be to my coaches at the performance center as well, who told me I was too nice and told me I wasn't mean enough and told me I wasn't a villain enough. And then, all of those things, I would definitely tell them, you know what? I was right. I was right. I knew I could always do it. So definitely proved all of them wrong.
Yes, you did. We absolutely love watching you, and
Thank you.
I'm very into the Judgment Day. I come from a wrestling family from 40 years ago, and we love Dirty Dom in our house.
Uh,
Oh my God, he is the best. But one last thing before you go, like obviously with Liv and everybody, like you kind of came back with Liv, you started teaming again, and the Judgment Day is a group that's kind of just always been undergoing change, no matter what happens. Every so months, it seems like somebody's leaving the group, moving on, somebody's coming in, right? But talk about the other relationships you have with the other people in the group, and how is Dirty Dom? Do all the girls kind of look at him when you guys are on the road?
you know what? Yes, yes, they do. People stare at him because he is such a little cutie. He's like, honestly, like I call him my brother, I call him my hermanito, and slowly we are starting to build that relationship up where, like, we'll be waiting to do something. So we'll be sitting in the clubhouse on the sofa with those dino nugget pillows, and we're just laughing. Him and I are just talking about the dumbest of things, but we're just laughing and laughing. And so we have this weird, really fun little vibe. The girls do stare at him because he's such a little cutie with that hair and the mustache. Um, he's a really great guy. Dominic is a really, really great, amazing dude. Really nice, very humble, just like, his dad, Rey Mysterio, who I always talk about, is one of the most legendary, most humble superstars that I have met, hands down. First person to go and shake everyone's hand. Dominic is the same way. He was raised very, very well. JD has become another person that's become a real brother to me. I love his positive attitude. When he got injured not too long ago, when he was facing the Viking Raiders, or I think they're called the War Raiders now, right? Correct, the name change.
Yeah, they went back to the old name. Yep.
Yeah. And so we were all very, very concerned. We were very worried. Obviously, that was a scary night for all of us. And so having him back in the clubhouse recently and feeling his energy and his good vibes is just perfect, because he brings that, like, guys, let's all be a family type of feeling. You know what I mean? Like when Liv and Dom are fighting, I mean, when Finn and Liv are fighting, he's like, no, guys, come on, let's just love each other. And so I really appreciate him for having that. Finn too, I've never been too close to Finn, but getting to work with him and getting to speak with him and seeing him every day, I really admire his work ethic and his character growth and his character development. Like, he's such a smart guy. And so I'm really grateful that I get to work with all of these amazing superstars in the ring. And Carlito, there's nothing bad I could say about Carlito. I used to watch him as well growing up. I went to one of his shows in Galveston. When I was told that we would be having like this little, he's going to hit on you, but don't give him too much attention, I was very excited just because I've always been a big fan of Carlito. And he is such an amazing entertainer. All of those things that you guys are seeing, that's all him. That's all him. Those are his ideas. Those are his moves. That's just him being him. And I loved getting to be in his presence while he was doing these things and coming up with these things and talking about these little ideas with me and how we could work together. And so I just feel so blessed to have been in the same storyline with Carlito, because I absolutely admire the guy for everything that he's done.
Well, we absolutely love that. Great tribute to the clubhouse on Monday for him, especially. Carlito, cool. Raquel, cool. Raquel, we thank you for joining us. Like I said, at some point when we release this, probably next week, we'll share the backstory about how this all transpired. And we have to talk about that after this is done.
Yeah.
I have to go into business, but we appreciate your time. We know your time is valuable. We know you're always on the move. We thank you again for joining us. We wish you the best of luck with everything. Hopefully you and Liv are the longest reigning women's tag team champions of all time. You're probably already the best women's tag team champions of all time. No BS there. And what we do is we always give our guests the last words here. So where can we find you? And if there's anything else like you would like to share or personally promote for yourself, by all means, go ahead. But once again, we really, really thank you for doing this with us.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. Yes, our backstory is very funny on how this all came about. But I'm very happy to share my story. I'm so happy to speak with everyone and meet all of these new people. You guys can find me at Raquel WWE on Instagram, on X as well. And this Monday night, we will obviously be live on Netflix or in Phoenix, Arizona, if anyone's going to be watching. And so, yeah, thank you guys very much for having me. I hope we will be the longest reigning women's tag team champions. Don't you worry about that.
Kel, this has been awesome. Thank you for your time. Joe and I will come We're gonna come check out your big title match at SummerSlam in our backyard in MetLife.
Yeah.
We'll be there cheering you on. Joe's always sitting front row. Me, I don't have that budget, so I'll be higher up. But you'll see Joe with his right shirt in the front like he always is at the shows.
Just like Drew McIntyre did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
inspired. He was inspired by Joe because he
It
said
was.
right in his next promo.
Yeah.
I
But we're
hear
gonna
that.
do it here for this episode of right for our special guest, the champ, Raquel Rodriguez, my co-host Joe Calabrese. I'm Nick Durst, and this has been I'm right.